Today, I'm thrilled to have a true legend in the field of leadership and personal development join us, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. His career has been nothing short of extraordinary, from revolutionizing the field of executive coaching to being named the world's #1 leadership thinker, along with being the author or editor of 42 books, including 4 New York Times bestsellers that have sold over 4 million copies. But what truly sets Marshall apart is his unwavering commitment to helping others grow, not just professionally, but as human beings. In today's episode, we'll dive into the pivotal moments that shaped his remarkable journey, uncover the profound lessons he's learned along the way, and explore groundbreaking concepts he's introduced into leadership development. So whether you're a seasoned leader or just starting your journey, this conversation is packed with insights that will transform the way you approach leadership and life. Enjoy. Welcome to the Good Leadership Podcast, where we engage with esteemed thought leaders and explore research-backed strategies and techniques that empower leaders at every level to achieve meaningful results that drive lasting change. Your career is nothing short of extraordinary. So to kick things off, let's take a step back to the beginning of your journey. Can you share a pivotal moment that set you on the path to becoming one of the most recognized leadership coaches in the world?
Yeah, two things. One is, again, a lot of life is luck. Anybody that's successful doesn't say their luck is very arrogant. I'm not that arrogant. A lot of my life has been luck. I had 2 really huge breaks to start with. One is I met Dr. Paul Hersey. Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard invented situational leadership, and I was lucky enough to just meet him. He invited me to one of his programs for free. I couldn't have afforded it. I sat in the back of the room. I thought, man, this guy's good. I want to be him when I grow up. And I thought, he's fantastic. And I said, look, Paul, I did one smart thing. I said, I'll serve the coffee. I'll move the tables. I'll do whatever it takes. You just let me sit in the back of the room and learn from you. And he did. One day he became double booked. He said, can you do what I do? I said, I don't know. He said, I'm desperate. Can you do this? I don't know. He said, I'll pay you $1,000 for one day. Now, I'm from a small town in Valley Station called Valley Station, Kentucky. We had an outhouse the first 4 years I was in school. We were poor. $1,000 a day, 47 years ago to a kid. I said, I'm going to give it a shot. I was making $15,000 a year. I said, I'm going to give it a shot here. I go do a program for the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. They were very angry when I showed up because it wasn't him, but I got ranked first place of all speakers. So I've done many IMS programs, and I'm not bragging, but my guess is my rankings are typically not bad, right?
Correct. You're one of the top.
Yeah, and so I was just a good speaker, a good teacher, and so he called up expecting them to be angry. So they said, we were angry, but this kid came in first place. Send him again. That's how I got. He called me up and said, you want to do this again? I said, you're paying me $1,000 a day. I'm making $15,000 a year. Do I want? Yes, sir. Yeah, my calendar just cleared. Well, that's how I got into leadership development and coaching also by accident. There was nothing called coaching. I was working with the CEO of a big company and said, I got this kid working for us, young, smart, dedicated, hardworking jerk. He said, worth a fortune to me if I could turn a kid's behavior around. I said, I like fortunes. Maybe I could help him. He said, I doubt it. I came up with the idea. I said, I'll work with the kid for a year. He gets better, pay me. You don't get better, it's free. You know what he said? Sold. There was nothing called coaching. I just made this up. I worked with him for a year. He got a lot better and I got paid. I didn't get paid as a coach for 45 years from coaching, unless my clients got better. That's how I got into coaching.
And you've really changed the mindset of coaching, because before you came along, it was seen as a negative that, oh, wow, now I need coaching. I must have done something bad, poor, or I'm just not performing in the right manner.
Well, this is one thing I'm very proud of. One of my big contributions is helping great people get better. My book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, it's about helping great people get better. It's not about fixing losers. And if you look at my coaching clients, it's not a secret who they are. Here's my new book, The Earned Life. This is #4 New York Times bestseller. And we got Dr. Jim Kim, president of the World Bank. We've got Alan Mulally, CEO of the Year in the United States, CEO of Ford at the time. Hubert Joly turned around Best Buy, CEO of the Year. Francis Hesselbein, Peter Drucker said the greatest leader I ever met. Albert Bourla came up with a cure for COVID, working at Pfizer. Blah, blah. And this guy got nominated for a Nobel Prize, president of St. Jude's Children's Hospital, et cetera, et cetera. These are not losers. They're winners. What I did, and I'm proud of this, is I really pioneered what are the challenges faced by great people? What are the challenges that come with success? We all think success is good. Success comes with a lot of baggage, I can tell you. My friend, our book, The Earned Life, my friend Mark Thompson and I spent 600 hours with 60 remarkably successful people, and their names are in the book. It's not a secret who they are. And I'll tell you, you know what? People don't think about this, but great achievement comes at a price. And week after week of doing this, there was never a week where somebody didn't start crying. You know what? These are human beings. And number one, they get kids with drug problems. They get parents with Alzheimer's. They get divorces. They're humans like everybody else. And when you become successful, my book, What Got You Here, When We Did, that's what it's about. The problems that come with success. Everybody laughs at our jokes. They all pretend we're smart. And when you're at this level, you need to win. When you get up there, you got to stop winning. You got to let other people win. Well, it's very difficult to make the challenge as you move up that ladder. And what I'm proud about is these people, they're great people. Now, I got ranked, as you mentioned, #1 coach in the world for years. Nobody knows I'm a good coach or not. Nobody's watched me coach people. But you know what? I'm probably not the #1 coach. I have a degree in math. That's ridiculous. I'm #1 every year in the whole world. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of coaches, right? I'm #1 every year? Probably not. On the other hand, I can say with certainty one thing. I have the best clients in the world. You work with people like this as a coach, you're going to look good.
I would agree with you. And it's nice showing other sides of them because you're right. Success comes at a price. And we usually just see the polished version of those individuals, not realizing all the struggles that they had to go through. And when people say that they were overnight successes, I hear the statement a lot. It took 20 years of hard work to become an overnight success.
You're right. Not too many overnight successes.
No. Well, speaking of your journey, if you had one chance or had the chance to offer one piece of advice to your younger self, what would that be and why?
You know, Peter Drucker taught me a great lesson for someone to get into various points of our conversation. He said, our mission in life is to make a positive difference, not to prove we're smart, not to prove we're right. #1. #2, every decision in life is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. Not the smartest person, the best person, a fair person, or a good person. If I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, there is one word to describe you. That word is called customer. There's one word to describe me. That word is called salesperson. Customers never have to buy. Salespeople have to sell. You sell what you could sell in life and you make peace with what you cannot sell. Don't waste your time on what you can't change. Do what you can change. Well, I have to repeat that lesson. Literally, I've repeated that lesson 1,000 times to people. It's once you get it, you're going to have a happier life and you're a lot more productive.
It's just hard to do that. It's easier said than done. So that, like you said, it takes constant reinforcement over time to really let those values and principles sink in to make it something that's meaningful to you. Now, you mentioned too in your career the difference between a specialist and a generalist, and you're an unapologetically specialist in this area. But you've spoken about narrowing your expertise to focus on the areas that you really can do well on and have a great impact in regards to. What led to this decision and how did it impact your success? Maybe kind of walking us through your career path on how you slice that bread ever thinner to look at what's your one trick genius.
Well, mine is helping great leaders achieve positive long-term change in behavior. If you do a Google search, anybody listening, do a Google search, in quotes, 3 words, helping successful leaders. The first 500 references, 450 are me. The entire rest of the world is 50. My brand, I won. Well, I am the world's expert at that. You do any survey, who's the world's expert at that? Me. Who's second? Somebody. I don't know. Well, I'm an expert on a narrow topic. Now, this is very important. There's 99.9% of everything I'm not an expert. So people ask me questions all the time. What about this and that? My answer is I'm not an expert. They say, don't you think it's important? It's very important. On the other hand, if you have a brain tumor and I'm a foot surgeon, the brain tumor is important, but I'm not an expert. Stick to what you know. Well, that has been very good for me. Now, it's not good for everyone, but for me, if you especially want to be in teaching, speaking, all those IMS people that give talks, they're experts. It's not like I know a little bit about 100 different things. They know a lot about something. They wouldn't have been invited by IMS to speak. Am I right or wrong?
You are correct.
Yeah, they have to be. And now I tell people, imagine, what is your mission? Peter Drucker said you put it on a t-shirt. Answer this question. I want to be the world's expert at. Well, what do you want to be the world's expert at? Right? Then meet people like I met Paul Hersey, Peter Drucker, all these other great people. They teach you. And then one day, what I say, I want to be them. Well, guess what? I'm one of them.
Well, you can only really be an expert in one or two fields. And for a while, you had the entire field to yourself. So when that happens, like you state, the world beats a path to your door and it dramatically improves your odds of living a fulfilled life.
Right. Exactly. Because at the high end, right, people just they want what's best. Yeah, they just want what's best. And it's usually not a bidding war. It's just what's best.
You're right. And you've created that virtuous cycle too, in which you're doing what you're meant to do, you're good at it. People recognize you for it and seek you out, and you're constantly improving. Because, like you say, which I love, not many people say this because everyone wants to be an influencer and they want greater credibility, but you have to earn credibility twice.
Let me talk about that. It's a very important point for many of the people listening to us right now. In my book, The Earned Life, I talk about credibility must be earned twice. Now, what is credibility? You want to be respected. You want to be recognized. You want people to listen to you. That's what credibility is. What does it mean credibility must be earned twice? Part of credibility is being competent at what you do. You need to be good at what you do. That's only half of credibility. The other half is being recognized for being good at what you do, which is a completely different thing. And a lot of people don't get this. If you get this at a younger age, your life's going to be a lot better. Let me tell you what I mean by that. For example, books. I mentioned I've been fortunate enough to sell 4 million books. How many titles are on Amazon.com right now? Answer 32.8 million. How many books do you have to sell in 1 year to be in the top half? The answer to that question is two. 16.4 million books sold 0 to 1 copy last year. Now, again, I'm not arrogant enough to believe that my books are better than 16 million other books. I got a degree in math. Some of those books have got to be good. Just the numbers are the numbers, right? You can't, they're not all bad at 16 million. Some are better than anything I ever dreamed of, I'm sure. Nobody bought them. Part of credibility is you write a good book. The other part is somebody buys it. They're not the same thing. Now, my book, What Got You Here, Won't You There? A lot of what I talk about is my experience with really successful, mega successful people and the problems they have, such as winning too much, adding too much value. I've got a whole list, and that book is mega successful, talking about those issues. Yet, Sally Helgeson, my friend who's an expert in women in leadership, said many of the people she works with have the opposite problem. They don't promote themselves enough. They don't try to win enough. They undersell. And in my book, Credibility Must Burn Twice, I talk about those people. My guess is, if I had to ask everyone on this listening to us, is your problem you tend to overpromote yourself, oversell, or undersell? You know what most of them would say? Undersell. Most people, 70, 80% of people think they undersell, they underpromote themselves. And let me give you what I mean by that. Overselling it's the balance between how much am I promoting myself and how much good is it doing the world. If you're promoting yourself and it does good for the world, it's a great thing. If you're promoting yourself and it doesn't do good for the world, it's a bad thing. Winning too much is a bad thing. You're promoting yourself when you shouldn't be. Showing off, adding too much value, proving how smart you are. That's bad. On the other hand, some people undersell. They underpromote themselves. So my guess is we have many underpromoters listening right now. So 2 bits of advice. One for the overpromoters. Before you speak, breathe. It's hard for a salesperson not to sell. Breathe, and you ask a question, is it worth it? Is me promoting myself, trying to sell something, try to be right, is it worth it? If the answer is yes, do it. If it's no, let it go. I would bet more people are in the other category, the undersell. For you undersellers, coaching for you. Breathe. A few questions. Question 1, if you became more powerful and influential, would the world be worse off or better off? Invariably, the huge majority of people say better off. Good. Question two, does trying to become more powerful and influential make you feel uncomfortable? Oh, uncomfortable. Yes. Many say yes. The hard question is three. Look in the mirror. What's more important to you in life? Making a positive difference in the world or being comfortable? What's more important? You want to be comfortable? Don't change. You want to make a positive difference? Get over it. It makes you feel uncomfortable. So what? Suck it up. Showtime. Well, that really gets through to a lot of people because they really I quit bragging about you don't promote yourself, the world would be better off and other people got ahead of you. Grow up. Grow
Take
up.
responsibility. Right.
Yeah, take responsibility. So anyway, it's tough coaching that works for a lot of people though.
Well, and also too, today I find that people want to create meaningful careers right away, but finding your genius takes time. It can take a decade or two to resolve. And in this time period is kind of what you refer to as the exposure gap, right? Where you're adding skills at work in your favor and subtracting those that don't work for you.
Well, exactly. A very, very important point that you're making is look at me in my career. There was nothing called executive coaching. People asked me, did I want to be this when I was growing up? There was no this. I'm working on my own AI computer bot right now. Right, we need to talk about that. There was no AI. I couldn't have done this. Did I want grow up wanting to do an AI computer bot? There was no AI. There was no executive coaching. Right? Yeah, back in the outhouse back in Valley Station, Kentucky, in undergrad or in elementary school, I doubt I really pondered doing any of these things. My goal was just make a living and have enough food to eat every day. That'd been cool, right? So yeah, you don't start out with this stuff. You work, work, work. The key, I'd say, just for me, meet great mentors, meet great people. And, I mean, the people in my life that have helped me so much, again, Paul Hersey, Kim Blanchard, Peter Drucker, Francis Hesselbein, many of my clients, they're my coaches. They coach me more than I coach them.
That's a great way to think of it. And platforms, use platforms that amplify your expertise. And you've had a long relationship with the Institute for Management Studies. Talk with me about that relationship. I know you've been with us for almost 40 years. And what makes IMS really stand out in your mind?
Well, one thing I have is a lot of loyalty. You've been good to me, and I try to be good to you. IMS really very high quality, very focused, and very big on customer satisfaction. I mean, I don't have to tell you this. If you're a teacher at IMS and the customers don't get value, you're gone. You are gone. And you are willing to make hard decisions to do what's right. And so I think, IMS has a really great history with teachers. And also, the other thing you've done very, very well is get younger people who maybe are not well known yet, but they've got the talent. And for me, when I started with IMS, I wasn't some famous person. I just I did well. I got good feedback, but I wasn't famous. And over the years, it's just a great platform that's helped me. I get to speak in front of, so many people.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your loyalty. We greatly appreciate that. And you're right. We're that expert driven approach that really focuses on behavior change and application and bringing in experts that really can go as deep as people need and want to create that behavior change in their life.
The other thing I like about IMS, it's practical. You're not dealing much of academic stuff that nobody's going to use anyway.
No, we love that fact as well, that we're not survey courses giving you kind of insights into a topic. We're giving you practical tools, tips, and strategies you can use right away that's going to benefit you in the
Right.
flow of work. So that's really important to us as well. Thank you for pointing that out, Marshall. Well, let's shift gears to a concept you're deeply passionate about, and that's the earned life. You mentioned the book earlier. How do you define an earned life, and what does it truly mean to earn one's life?
Well, that's a good question. And so I don't misquote myself, I've got my book. We're living an earned life when the choices, risks, and effort we make in each moment align with an overarching purpose in our lives, regardless of the eventual outcome. And the interesting part of that definition is regardless of the eventual outcome. A lot of the book, it's based on, I'm a philosophical Buddhist, it's based on Hindu or Buddhist philosophy. And it really focuses on what does it take to live a great life? And to me, there aren't that many variables. What does it take to live a great life? One, let's start with money. Well, all you need is enough money to live kind of middle class or above life. There's no study that shows once you get beyond that, more money is going to make you a lot happier. The common myth is I'll be happy when I get rich. No. If rich, I coach a lot of billionaires. I can tell you some are very happy and some are not happy at all. So yeah, that's just a myth. Then, but you need enough money, enough. You don't need a fortune. You do need enough. Then after that was relationships. You want to have a great relationship with people you love. Dr. Bob Waldinger from Harvard has done this longitudinal research that illustrates the importance of relationships and having a great life. And then take care of your health. Now, assuming you're healthy, you got a good relationship with people you love, and you got enough money, what matters? Three things. One, you need a sense of aspiration. What is the purpose? Why am I doing this? It doesn't have to be religious, but it has to be something. People work hard. Okay, why are you working hard? You need to be able to answer this question. Why? What's the point? Number two, though, you need achievement. A person like me, look, why am I talking to you? I don't want to be playing crappy golf with old men at the country club eating chicken sandwiches all day. I want to achieve something in life. You want to do something that has meaningful achievement. So you want achievement that is meaningful to you. You need to have an ambition. And your ambition is this achievement that's meaningful for you, hopefully, which is aligned with your aspiration. And then the third level is action. That's your day-to-day activities. You need to, number one, be engaged in, and number two, enjoy the process of life itself.
And live your own life, not someone else's version of it, right?
Exactly. So basically, look, if I'm doing what I love, two, I'm achieving something meaningful, and three, it's aligned with my higher purpose. And again, assuming I've got some money and I'm healthy and got good, I won. That's it. You won. You won the game of life. Victory, victory.
And the reward of an earned life doesn't include a trophy ceremony. Like you mentioned, the reward of living an earned life is really being engaged in the process of constantly earning it.
Yeah. The great Western disease is I'll be happy when.
Yeah.
When I get the money, status, BMW, the condominium, I will be happy when I achieve this, make the money, get the degree, get married, whatever. Win. There is no win, but there is no win. The Buddhist term for this is the hungry ghost. You're always eating, you're never full. Now, one of the nice people who endorsed my book is Albert Bourla. Dr. Albert Bourla, CEO of Pfizer. And I called him up 3 years ago and said, Albert, how's it going? Oh, pretty good. Came up with that vaccine for COVID. A big deal. I said, Albert, I took that vaccine. Yay, thank you. Man, it saved a few billion lives there. Good job. What else? Oh, employee engagement through the roof, stock values, blah, 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 on and on. See, he was CEO of the year. Albert, great year. Wonderful. Albert, what's your problem? He said, I got a huge problem. So what is it? 2 words. Next year. You see, there's always next year. Do you think the people that bought the stock at this price care that he came up with a cure for COVID? They don't care. Next year. By the way, achievement and happiness are independent variables. People believe we can achieve our way to happiness. No, you can't. If achievement would make you happy, what Olympic athlete would be the happiest in the world? Michael Phelps. He won more gold medals than anybody. What do you think about doing after winning his last gold medal? Killing himself. He was depressed. You can't achieve your way to happiness. You can't achieve your way to happiness. Achievement is great. It's an important part of having a great life. Happiness is great. They're not the same thing.
And what you mentioned too is that you don't want a room full of stale marshmallows. So don't keep putting off enjoyment and value.
Well, let me talk about that. Some great research. I love this part of the book. It's called the Marshmallow Research. It was done at Stanford. And in the research, you take this kid and you give the kid a marshmallow and say, well, kid, if you eat one, you get one. But if you wait, you get two. So, and then allegedly the research shows that the kids that eat one grow up, become losers. Kids that eat two are very successful. And the message is delayed gratification is good. Delayed gratification is good. Every self-help book, delayed, work out more, diet, eat less, delayed gratification, all good. There's only one problem with the research. They did not take the kid that had 2 marshmallows and say, kid, wait a little bit more. 3. Wait some more. 4, 5, 10, 100, 1,000. And as you said, where does the story end? An old man sitting in a room waiting to die, surrounded by thousands of uneaten marshmallows. Sometimes in life, you got to eat that marshmallow. Another story I love in the book is Jack Welch, famous former CEO of GE. Jack Welch, not when he died, but long before he died, had triple bypass surgery. So my friend was book agent. So my friend asked Jack Welch, "What'd you learn about life from that triple bypass surgery? What'd you learn about life? You could have died." He said, "I learned a great lesson." Now, Jack Welch loves great wine, right? Has a whole wine cellar filled with fancy wine. You know what Jack said? You know what my great lesson was? Why am I drinking the damn cheap wine every night? I'm Jack Welch. I'm rich. I almost died. I'm drinking cheap wine, and I'm waiting for the wine in my wine cellar to appreciate in value. Duh. What is wrong with me? I drink the wine.
You talk about gratitude in your past self, and you want to connect with the past. You want to show appreciation and gratitude to your past self so that you don't have regret, but you also want to be able to let go of the past as well. And you have a great exercise that you tell leaders, because a lot of leaders, especially high achieving leaders, are really hard on themselves. And in some cases, they don't let those past mistakes go, which you need to be able to do if you can effectively move on, right?
And a great way to look at life is every time I take a breath, it's a new me. A lot of the book talks about that. Every time I take a breath, it's a new me. Everything that was done before was done by a group of people called the previous you. So I ask people, think of all those previous versions of you. Think of all the gifts they've given the you that's here right now. Think of how hard they worked. Well, if anybody did that many nice things for you, what should you say to these people? Thank you. Now, did they make some mistakes? Of course they did. Let it go. Forgive yourself for being human. Forgive yourself for being human. And by the way, the deepest coaching advice I've given a lot of people is this: forgive yourself for being who you are, forgive yourself for being human, and forgive other people for not being who you thought they should be. They're not who you expected them to be. They're who they are. Forgive your parents. That's very deep for a lot of people. Don't forgive their parents. Forgive your parents. Your parents are human. They did what they did. And by the way, you don't forgive other people for their needs. You forgive them for your needs. If you don't forgive people, you carry that stuff around your whole life. Why? Life's too short. Forgive people and forgive yourself. I remember one of the guys that I work with, a great guy, very famous. He had trouble just being happy. He's worth 60 million bucks. He's famous, but he had trouble being happy. And I never was able to get through to him until I came up with one idea. He has 2 little kids, loves his kids. I said, "Do you love your kids?" "Yes." "You want them to be happy?" He said, "More than anything." I said, "Do you believe in leadership by example?" He said, "Of course I do." "You want your kids to be happy? Look in the mirror. You go first. Let them see you be happy."
You don't
Boom.
realize how much you're modeling for your
Boom.
kids throughout their childhood.
I work with a lot of small business people. They want their kids to go into business, and they wonder why the kid doesn't want to go into business. They come home night after night after night and complain about how hard they work, how much sacrifice they're making, how miserable they are. And then they wonder why the kid doesn't want to go into business. The kid doesn't want to be you. Kid doesn't want to be you. You just told your kid you're miserable. Why do you think the kid want to go into business? They don't want to be you. I was teaching at a large company that franchises people, and a rich guy, wanted his son to go into business. He started crying. He said, "I finally realized why my son has no interest in the business. Me." Yeah, me. Japan has a whole country filled with that. There's a whole country, Japan went through this huge boom, and what the kids see. Dad come home after, 12 hours drunk, night after night after night. Wonder why the kids don't want to work so hard. They want to be dad. They don't want to be dad.
And such a great lesson you have with forgiving yourself and forgiving that other person so that you can move on. It's more for you than for them, because if you don't, it's like you're drinking that poison that you're hoping that they drink. It's not affecting them. And you don't have to have them in your life, right? You can say, you know what, I forgive you. I'm not choosing to continue that relationship with you, but at least you're allowed to move on.
Well, there's a great story I teach about the two monks are walking by the stream and they see a woman crying. And one monk comes over and says, "Why are you crying?" She says, "Well, I'm crying because it has a beautiful silk dress my mother made. If I cross the stream, I'm going to ruin the beautiful dress." The monk says, "We can't help you. We can't touch women." Well, one monk says, "Forget the rules." Picks her up, carries her across the stream, drops her off. She's so happy. "Thank you, nice monk." He's happy. He splashes back across the stream. His colleague is angry. "You're a bad monk, a bad monk, a bad, bad monk." "Why am I bad?" "Because you carried that woman." "What do you say for yourself?" They walk back to the home of monks, all the way back. "Bad monk, bad monk." The wet monk drives off and goes to sleep. Middle of the night, his friend wakes him up. "You're a bad monk." "Why?" "You carried that woman." Sleepy monk: "What woman?" "The woman you carried across the stream." Sleepy monk says, "Oh, her. I only carried her across the stream. You carried her all the way back to the monastery." See, a lot of us, we're carrying people around with us. They don't make us happy. They're not making us happy. They're not losing sleep over us. Who's being punished? We're punishing ourselves. Let it go. As you said very well, forgiveness is for yourself.
And focus on what you can change versus what you can't change in others. I love your metaphor. It's always an empty boat. So when you're trying to change people and they don't want to change and things you can't control, let it go. Focus on what you can control in yourself.
Empty boat is a great story. The farmer's rowing the boat up the big river. Here comes a boat. He sees the boat. "Be careful, you might hit my boat. Be careful." The boat hits his boat. He's angry. "You fool, how'd you hit my boat?" He looks in the boat. There's nobody in the boat. He's screaming at an empty boat. The point is, in life, the boat's always empty. They are who they are. Yelling at people for being who they are makes as much sense as yelling at a chair for being a chair. It is what it is, right? And if you had their history, background, genes in life, you'd probably be them. Well, you're not. They are who they are. Make peace. Make peace with what is. You don't have to like what is. Make peace with what is. One of the oldest poems in history is called the Bhagavad Gita. And it's a very interesting story. It's about a guy has to go to war and he's talking to his advisor, and then basically, "This is terrible and this is worse. What do I do?" The advisor says, "And by the way, in life, sometimes we have two choices, bad and worse." That's real. You know what he said? "Okay, which one's less bad?" "That one. Pick that, make peace, be happy, and move on." That's it. Sometimes you don't have great choices. It is what it is. Make peace.
And many people have self-conceived barriers to change in their life. And you list a lot of those barriers. One that I love that you mentioned is people feel like they have too much runway or not enough runway. And they underestimate the changes that can happen at certain areas or in certain parts of their life because they just feel like it's, and you experience this a lot with retired CEOs, thinking that, well, their life's over. Their identity is so tied to that title, to that position, that they can't make any more meaning out of their life once they retire from that position.
It is very, very difficult. I've had, I think, 9 sessions at my home, probably with an average of 8 CEOs per session, about 72 CEOs. And it's hard. One of the great guys in our group, Mike Duke, was CEO of Walmart, and he retired, and he had a great story. He said, "I was CEO of Walmart, and I told this joke. Everybody laughed. Oh, funny joke. I love it. Clean joke, didn't offend anybody. Then I retired. I'm in this group. I tell my joke." He said, "No one laughed. Well, he must be grumpy." Second group, "Tell a joke." No one laughed. He said, finally, my wife said, "Mike, you idiot. Did you really think that stupid joke was funny?" See, when he was CEO of Walmart, that joke was hilarious. I went to dinner with him one night, and the CEO of General Mills was there, and 30% of his revenue is Walmart. I heard Mike tell that joke. You think he laughed? Oh, ho, 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 ho. Funniest joke in the world. He could have told the joke twice. He laughed harder the second time. Ho, ho, ho. Well, it's hard, man. You get done with that job, you realize that they don't love you. They don't love you. All those people suck it up all those years. Hey, you're gone. New boy in town now. that show's over. And it's very hard to look at their identity. Now, some people do great. Alan Mullally, my friend, is on Hubert Joly, amazing job. He was CEO of Best Buy, turned the company around, great client of mine. He wrote a book about it called The Heart of Business. Talks about me in the book. He's a great human being. He's a professor now. He teaches at Harvard. He loves what he does. He coaches people. He's working all the time. Very happy guy. Harry Kramer, same thing. He's teaching. He's doing a lot of charity work. He's very happy. I'm happy. You can't always do what you've done, yet you need to do something. And what do they all need to do? They love what they do. Meaningful achievement is connected to a higher purpose, all of them. If the answer is yes, 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 they win. If the answer is no, they don't. And by the way, money doesn't do it. Money does not do it.
I agree with you. And it's important not to tie your identity to any position, but take those skills that you've gained and that valuable experience to other positions. And like you said, focus on those three things, and you're going to find a meaningful life regardless of the position you're in. I hope this episode has provided you with valuable insights. If it has, I ask you to share it with someone who would also benefit from it. If you've been enjoying and gaining knowledge from this podcast, then subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can find all the previous episodes of the podcast and additional learning resources. You can also subscribe to the podcast on Apple or Spotify and leave up to a 5-star review.